Hello, it's me. It's Yvonne from Women's Fitness Adventures. Welcome to Monday Night Live. A bit of a surprise. I didn't put in that I was going to be live tonight. I have one of those days where time has just run away from me. So here I am. Welcome to Monday Night Live for the 22nd of May. So glad that you can join me, whether you're joining live or whether you are joining on the replay. Thank you for being here. Each week I have been doing this for about 9 years now, and I bring you some hot tips of the week, some questions that I've been asked a lot about hiking over the course of the week as well. So this afternoon I'm going to talk about movement and training, and of course if you have questions or anything like that, please feel free to ask them, and I can either jump in and answer them live, or I can actually create something new around that as well. And hi, Brod from Launceston. I am our Tasmanian correspondent. I think you've been labelled. Hopefully it is warm down there. I have been in Sydney for the weekend. It was cold. For Queenslanders, I think it's cold. And hi, Meg, as well. Lovely to have you here. Yes, aptly named for Brod there. I was in Sydney on the weekend. It was cold. It was beautiful weather, but it was cold. I ran the half marathon yesterday. Oh, hi, Marie. And I let you in on a secret. I am so sore. I can literally not walk. It was the hardest one I think I have ever done. And yeah, I can't rush to the front door. We have a 2-story house. I can't rush to the front door. My legs hurt. I'm actually going to this evening and give myself a bath. I very rarely have a bath, but my legs are just so sore that I figure if I don't do that tomorrow, they will be worse. So which brings me to the very wonderful point about training and yeah, thanks, Marky, that it's epic. Oh, I'm not so sure about training, and how training is more than just, and hike training in particular, more than just movement, and it's more, it encompasses everything. We need to be moving in our hike training, but we also need to be taking care with the clothing that we're wearing, the food that we're eating, that we're fueling ourselves. And as members, most of you know, our Hi Jelena, that in our nutrition masterclass last night, it is any hike that we do, whether we're going for a half-day hike or whether we're going for several days in a row, a multi-day, is that we have the right fuel for our body to give us the optimal performance. So we need the right fuel, we need the right clothing, and we need the right training as well. So all of those elements combine to make for a pretty successful adventure, whatever that might be, a pretty successful hike. And hi, Zandra from Ipswich as well. So this morning at our regular hike about in Brisbane on a Monday, we had a couple of new ladies join us for the hiking. And it's always interesting when people start out on their hiking journey, because they think that because it's new and we're learning a whole lot of new things and the area is unfamiliar, we forget what it's like to be back in that beginner's mindset where we're trying something new for the first time. Because not that these ladies were, but I was definitely during the run yesterday comparing myself to others and thinking, oh, there's a lady my age, I'm just going to go a little bit faster, which I couldn't physically do, to try and get in front of her, not knowing her story. She could have been an under 8 age champion for all I know, who knows. But, comparing myself to others on the trail or others on the track yesterday. And that's something that we do in the hiking world as well, is we tend to compare ourselves without knowing anybody else's journey, without knowing anybody else's starting point. And when you come into, the Women's Fitness Adventures world, some members have been with us for the whole 9 years that we've been going, and others have just recently joined. And it's easy to, some know the trails inside out, some know our language, some know our, nuances in the way we work. And for those coming in, it's that whole beginner's mindset of how does this work? What do I need to do? The energy I consume, not knowing, what will unfold over a 3-hour or a whole day course as well. So, getting that beginner's mindset and not comparing ourselves to others when it comes to our movement as part of our hike training is a really, really important step. So with our preparation for hiking, it is about movement. It is about making sure that we're doing the right amount of training that's appropriate for the adventure. That doesn't mean we have to flog ourselves. It doesn't mean that we have to, overachieve and be overfit, which overfit, can potentially give us a risk of injury because we're overtraining. And it doesn't mean that we have to be consumed by our training as well. It just means that we need to do the right level of training that's appropriate for the adventure so that when we're on the adventure, we can actually enjoy every single minute of it and not think, how on earth am I going to walk around the house or get up and do anything the next day? But when we also talk about adventure, whether that's a half day or whether that's, an hour on your local trail every morning of the week or whatever it might be, it's making sure that you are training for it, that you have the right clothing as well. And particularly as, the weather's cooling, did you say, Brod? That as the weather has changed, and here in Queensland, and I know in Sydney, it has got really cool overnight and the mornings are quite frosty. Oh, not frosty, they're cool. They feel frosty, but they're not frosty here. Is that you have the right level of clothing. And we don't want to be too cold, but we also don't want to be too hot, because when we're too hot, we can risk overheating, and it's just as dangerous as being too cold. And we can often think that, oh, no, I don't want to carry that. No, I don't want to wear that. No, I don't want to buy that. That's too expensive. I'll just go this brand. But really, in the long run, it's making sure that training's appropriate, that your gear, your clothing is appropriate as well. So we want layers close to our body. Now, as members, if you're a member, most of you watching are, this information's all available in the resources, just in the different masterclasses. But we know with layering, and particularly in winter, if we want to keep cool, cool or warm, we need the clothes to be fitting to our body. As women, we tend to want to hide our shape for whatever reason and wear loose, big, baggy clothes. And that can produce chafing and all sorts of things. Excuse me. But it can also mean that we're not trapping in the air as we need to. The air when it's hot to wick away the moisture, but the air when it's cold to keep us in there, to keep the layers warm. So we start with that first layer of our t-shirt or even a singlet shirt if you're that cold, depending where you're going. And then you pop on your next layer, which is a fleecy top or a warm, merino top or something like that. And then you put on your third layer, which is your raincoat, Gore-Tex equivalent, which will then keep the wind and the rain out if needed. But you really, when you're moving, shouldn't need any more than that. Having 5 layers isn't actually going to add you any more warmth to having the 3. It's really making sure that we get these little layers of air trapped in between. And it's the same in our summer hiking. Having the clothes nice and close to our skin will ensure that we get that moisture wicking happening away from our skin. So 2 things there with our hiking preparation, the movement and the clothing, but then also, as we discussed on the masterclass the other night, nutrition for the trail. The other thing to do with our hike training is our is the food. And when we, let's face it, no one when we were growing up really had any food allergies, but nowadays, there's a lot of allergies and intolerances around there, and choosing our dietaries for our hikes, we need to be particularly careful of, to make sure that we're fueling ourselves the right way, but also to make sure that if someone else is choosing that food, that you're going to be able to digest it and it's not going to sit uncomfortably in your tummy, or that you're actually going to be able to eat some of that food at all. And I think that's really important, that you know that information in advance. So if you're going on a half-day hike and someone says to you they'll pack the lunch, and they pack, for example, cheese sandwiches, and you don't eat cheese, and the cheese, it's a cheese spread and you can't get it off the sandwich, and the cheese upsets your stomach, then what do you do? So really paying attention to those things, because you can't sustain your activity on nothing, but you also want to make sure that if you have that intolerance or allergy, that you're not going to upset your tummy and end up having to duck off into the bushes for a short little while there as well. So all of those things are important when it comes to hiking training. Like there's a lot more other things. But those 3 elements in our training, and then of course there's recovery, and recovery is just as important. And we were talking about that today at Hike About, is that we can still do all the things that we did when we were 25. We just need to allow ourselves a little bit more time to recover. So more time for the muscles to recover, more time to sleep, more time to refuel, and just let the cell process renew. So, when we think we can't because I'm old, I'm too old, whatever it might be, you can. We just need to allow a little bit of time in between. But it also means being physically strong enough here, and mentally strong enough and physically strong enough here to be able to keep into that rhythm of, if we come home and we're feeling shattered, that we're not then going to feel deflated because we are so tired and can't get out of that cycle of feeling so tired and sore. And will that happen again next time I go? And that was part of the conversation this morning as well. How long will it take till I get to the level of fitness that I need to be? Do the hills get easier? Will I ever stop puffing? And they're really, really important questions to ask when it comes to your hike training. No, the hills never get easier. You just get better at it. No, you will never stop puffing going up a hill. You can go slower up a hill and puff less, but you will still elevate the heart rate and get short of breath. But how you measure that your training is moving in the right direction is that it takes you less time to recover, less time for that heart rate to come down, less time for that puffy breath to come down as well. So when we think about our hike training, yes, movement is one part of it, a very big part of it, and movement on the trail and different surfaces on the trail. And if you receive tonight's newsletter, that has a whole lot of information in there about things you can do this week in terms of those elements to be adventure ready for whatever hike that you're planning to go on. But there's lots more questions that we got asked this morning as well about, walking uphill, walking downhill, the different techniques, the different shoes, the different boots, all of those things we talk about as members all the time inside the Facebook group as well, or the membership community. Perhaps the most important thing in terms of getting fit, and it came up again this morning, is just showing up. Showing up is the hardest thing to do. Finding a way to where you need to go for your hike or whatever it is, and showing up and then making that commitment. You can't sit on the fence. You can't say, I'm going to do this. You need to commit to make that goal, because when you make that goal, all those other elements that I was just talking about fall into place. Brod says, it's so helpful to know that hills don't get any easier. They don't. That hill is not changing its elevation. That hill is not changing its gradient. That hill is not changing its track surface unless someone comes and grades it. Without that knowledge, we can feel inadequate and that we need to get better. Yeah, a great tip. Yeah, we just get better at it, and the more time, it's this consistency over time equals results. And the more time that we show up with our training, the better we get. The more time we show up and test our different clothing in our training, the more we understand it, the better and easier and more comfortable we feel when we're using it. The more times we test and trial different foods in our training, the more comfortable we'll get saying yes or no, that food works for me. That's how much food I need to go on that trail, or no, I need more food than that. So, the training is more than just the movement. Training is really just, testing, trialing, retesting, trialing, measuring, renewing, reviewing, all of the things that you do for when it's showtime, for when you go out onto that trail and you don't have options handy of, the car being parked there, or, 5 different jumpers in the back of your car, or a shop just around the corner to pick up some last minute snacks. So, hike training is more than just movement, but movement is a very big part. So they're the tips that I wanted to share this week. It was lovely reading some of your membership anniversary notes inside our crew member Facebook group this week. It's hard to believe time flies, but more incredibly how successful all of you who shared have been over the past couple of years. testament to you for showing up, and I think that that's pretty amazing. So we have, just going to pop a thing here. We have our Adventure Ready for Hiking course starting soon. So if you liked what I shared this afternoon, we have a 10-week course that has all of this information in a very condensed version. So you can jump onto that page. I'll put the link in the comments as well, and check out if that's for you. It starts at the end of June, and there's some early bird pricing now. Or if you're not a member, you can jump onto our member, where is it? Our membership. Let me move that one, and join our membership as well, which is currently open, and lots of women doing amazing things all over Australia, all over Singapore, and parts of the US as well. So that's it from me for this week. I look forward to connecting with our members. Wednesday night is our Ready, Set, Go for our Port Douglas Tropical Fitness Adventure. We have one spot left. The house that we stay at has recently been voted as one of the top 10 by Stays in Australia, top 10 holiday homes. So one place left on that. It's a fabulous adventure in October. A couple of spots left on our New Zealand Coast, Bush and Canyons, which is really delightful. I love that one. We were there last year. And New Zealand is just such an amazing country to hike in. And we also have a couple of spots left on our Victorian High Country Adventure for December. So if that interests you, then head over to our website, womensfitnessadventures.com. But that's it from me for this week, a short one, a sharp one. And I hope you got something out of it. And I look forward to catching up with you next Monday night. Thanks. Bye.